obviously, because Lex is so part of it, and it's probably why they're both living in Austin. But it was like, hey, we need Joe to put out a bunch of disinformation. So can you come on and just pretend to be having a conversation about other things? That felt more like more the agenda in the Lex interview than in the other ones. And the piece, and I didn't clip this, but I don't know if you noticed in the beginning when they were talking about Chat GPT and what it was going to do, and then Lex pointed to like, well, if you're bad and you're spreading misinformation like Hunter S. Thompson, and I was like, why would that be the name that you go to?
I know why.
Because he's my hero?
Yeah. Right? Like 100%. So this is where like there's little, like Danny and I were having this conversation, and this is like definitely like in the huge El Sol persona for each of us, right? We've come to the conclusion that these people, like they're very fond of us. They have tremendous respect for us. And there's little gives throughout all of these interviews, not only that they're paying attention and that we're helping them problem solve their holes in their story, but also they feel like, you know, we should throw them a bone and confirm to them that they're right about this. Like when they're almost right, but not quite, give them a clue to like shift go look over here, but pretend you're looking right. So we've decided that there's a rhythm, or let's say an algorithm that they're communicating to us through, that once we figure out, maybe we can graph it and diagram it. And then we know that we only have to listen to like the sentence said every 36th minute of the podcast, and we can have a lot more time for our personal lives, right? I think that there's going to be, there's going to be a pattern, a Morse code of sorts, right? Yeah. But I know because I can read that Hunter S. Thompson is your hero, like in almost every profile that has ever been done of you, in any place that you were once a hero and are now just like, ooh, yeah, we don't talk about her. Like there's some part about saying that, like when you read Hunter S. Thompson and you wanted to become a journalist, and that's part of your, right? So that makes no sense what he said. Hunter S. Thompson never like stated that he was like saying anything that was true. So why someone would point to him as like a purveyor of,
not alive.
Right.
Alive for a long time.
Right. But it's not like someone who there's ever been a question about whether this person is like a reporter of the facts in the news, or whether somebody was taking creative psychedelic liberties with the way that they reported reality. Right. Like this is a person who is like, you know, I took chlorophyll, or what was the thing that makes you like pass out? He's like, chloroform. I took chloroform before I did this interview, or whatever. Right. Like he purposely disqualified himself from being taken seriously in order to be able to say things that were true. So to call someone like them a disinformation agent is like, right, a purveyor of misinformation that Chat GPT needs to delete from its lexicon. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? The only answer is you.
Okay, I'm so glad that you heard that as well, because I was like, is this just like my own personal simulation that is hearing this? Because of all the people you're gonna name, that's the one. Okay, and I didn't clip this, but I mentioned this to you, how often Lex will say, it's all about love. We have to believe in love. And it's like, it doesn't really line up with the personality that he doesn't even have. Like, it never makes sense. It's so incongruous. And given that this show was such a big push towards AI, automation, genetic engineering, I feel like they're shoving that through his own operating system to make it seem as though like the techno-fascist enslavement future is loving, because their poster boy for it keeps repeating the word love.
Right. So I think there's a couple of things here. So first of all, I only got to listen to the first hour of the Lex Fridman thing, but that part was included. So I'm glad I got to hear it. But I heard enough of that to really hear this sort of thing that I noticed in the little bits of each of the other interviews that we're going to talk about, some in the second hour, that I started to notice this really weird thing. And then I thought about it. And I was telling you this before the show today, that being of average or slightly above average intelligence, Joe is still more intelligent than 98% of the people he interviews. And this is part of some kind of weird shaming ritual for him to have to pretend that these dunces are smarter than him, and then to have to defer to them or kiss up to them or butter up to them. And it isn't that he doesn't like enjoy aspects of that, but I was saying it's kind of like when they would make like Eddie Murphy get an address or whatever, or Dave Chappelle, Dave Chappelle wouldn't do it, but whenever they try and get the, yeah, I saw it, right? So it's the great link confirmer of reality. So I think that this is these people are dumb. Most of these people that are on there are like not that smart, or they're not necessarily dumb, but we're not talking about the people that are we are being told are of extreme intellect and thought leaders are so average. They're so the algorithmic nonsense that Darren Beatty was talking about, that just became very clear from this conversation. But to your point, and we're going to talk about this on the other side, and in just a minute, I'm going to look through a few comments before we wrap this.
No, we're going late because we have to get through at least 3 more of these clips.
Oh, then pull them up. I thought, okay, pull it up. I thought you said you weren't going to put the clip.
We're not even close to done.
Go to the clip. Okay, go to the clip. Okay, cool.
Because this was such a disinformation heavy episode. Like, this was different, actually. And I know you're probably not going to finish watching it, but they were running so much through this one. We have to get through it.
Well, they didn't stay on topic at all. They just kept shifting from one op to the next op. They were doing that even in the first hour that I watched. So go ahead.
Hey, superstars. Thank you so much for sharing your sacred attention with me. If you are receiving any value whatsoever from my videos, I am encouraging you to give back, to pay it forward by supporting me on my Patreon community, on my locals community, on both. Your support allows me to keep on keeping on and to keep making content like this. It used to be much easier back in the days of a free press, but now, given all of the censorship and the shadow banning, it really is challenging for content creators to continue to put out so much work. I'll just speak for myself. I'm excited for it to be easier for me to continue to put out more content. And the primary way that it can be easier is by you supporting me financially by way of my Patreon and or my locals, where for as little as $5 a month, you get to be my hero and receive oodles of bonus content, and we both get to win. Okay, thank you so much for your support, for your attention, and for being omniscopic amazingness.